VETSOME. Stay in the fight.
Hello, America, and welcome back to VETSOME. Brian Lynch here with Matt Griffin, CEO of Combat Flip-Flops. Matt is a West Point grad, an Army Ranger, 4 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, again in your United States Army. And we are going to talk today about combat flip-flops and their impact on the veteran community and the nation. Matt, pleasure to have you on board. Welcome to VETSOME.
Awesome. Thanks for having me here today. I'm stoked. We've been chatting for some time, and it's exciting to finally make it happen.
It is. I'm glad we finally got you in. Tell us about the idea for the company. We talked beforehand. I understand that the idea for Combat Flip-Flops came to you when you were in Kabul.
It is. So this is it's been a 20-year endeavor for me now, and basically we exist to solve the problem of the forever wars by creating jobs in post-conflict and conflict areas. We want to go there. We want to create jobs. We want to create employment. We want to create education. And so that's why we exist.
All right. So 2012 is when you got started. You obviously had the idea a few years earlier than that. What specifically, where were you when the idea came to you? Was it a compilation of, because you did a couple of tours in both Iraq and Afghanistan. Was it a culmination of events, or was it one specific area and AO that gave you the vision?
Well, during my time in service, you're always trying to solve the problem of what it is. And I say 100, to be very conservative about the number of missions I ran for direct action missions. But I know it's in the 200 plus number. I always just say a number just to be safe. And toward the end of the deployments, we kept catching all of these guys. And when you get them in for their interview, you ask them why they were attacking us, or why they were planting a bomb, or why they were shooting a mortar. And the answer was, like, what else are we going to do? There's no jobs here.
Right.
Like, we would see that every night, right? And like, I didn't know how to solve the problem. I got out of the military in 2006. I started going back in late 2008 as a contractor, putting in clinics in or near conflict areas. And what I saw was that small businesses were the real leaders in their communities. They were the ones that creating the safety. Like, if you go to these conflict areas, you stay away from 3 areas to be safe. You stay away from the media, you stay away from embassies, and you stay away from the military. If you want to stay in the safest spots, you stay where there's lots of business.
Right.
And the idea is, like, I saw it in Afghanistan, I saw it throughout, the Middle East, I saw it throughout Africa. So the thought kept occurring to me is, why can't we keep doing more of this instead of sending MRAPs and B-52s and, thousands of people behind poor leadership to accomplish this goal, which isn't working. And then I walked into a combat boot factory in Kabul, Afghanistan. I saw 300 people working. I saw a flip-flop thong punched through a combat boot sole, and the name Combat Flip-Flops came to mind. I bought the domain on GoDaddy. Off we went.
Off you went. Yeah, I think any of us that have served in that part of the world throughout the Middle East, when there's a lot of the problem is particularly for young men and the lack of sense of belonging. If they cannot find if they can't find their tribe in say the military, or they can't find their tribe in employment, they've got a lot of time on their hands. And those types of individuals, wherever they are in the world, and it's not just it's here in the United States as well, unemployed young men can often present a problem. So I think it's interesting that the idea came to you in that factory itself. Did you see a decent mix? This is pre-Taliban days, or was it all men that were working there at the time?
This was 2009. So this factory was producing combat equipment for the Afghan military, very similar to how we make the Berry Amendment here in the United States. We produce all of our materials and clothing for the military here, for the armed forces within America. They were doing the same as they were building up the Afghan National Army. It was primarily a male factory that I walked into, that were men that had the jobs, but each person supported 5 to 13 family members.
Right.
The social impact of that factory was massive.
I can imagine. So I'm holding a pair of AKs here. Obviously, the logo has a screaming eagle on it. My heel is a little worn. I can't see the heel as well. But one of the things that stood out to me when I first got this set of AKs is the 2 primer pieces that are located on the left and right. Are those actual primers, the bottom of a shell, or was that just a fabrication?
That's a fabrication. When we came up with the idea for our products, we have fun names like the AK or the Flop Raider or the Tuk Tuk.
Right.
We try to just name our stuff military-ish. and we wanted the AK-47 to be our first one. We tried to see what it would be like. We bought AK rounds and went to the gun range and shot AKs and tried to slice off the ends, and it was just too much. So they're cast replicas.
Pretty time intensive, I would imagine as well. And not only that, but locating the brass. That can be a challenge. So that looks like a 5.56 round, if I'm not mistaken. That's on there now.
It's supposed to say 7.62 by 3.9. We're working under dimensions. We got a little bit off this year, so forgive us.
No worries. I'll tell you, one of the most comfortable flip flops I've worn. What I noticed about the upper band, I don't know what you call this part here. It's thick cushion leather. A lot of cheap flip flops that you buy have that hard plastic piece. That's the part that digs into the top of your foot, and especially between the big toes. So the design, and this one's a few years old, but I'm sure others have noticed. I've had to hide these from my Marine sniper who is still in school. He tried to steal them twice, and his twin brother as well was a first responder. So they recognize the comfort as well. So the combat flip flops has a unique mission in and of itself, and there's also you're wearing the T-shirt, "Be a Better Human," and One More Wave. Talk to us a little bit about those two organizations and how they came about.
Repeat that question one more time, please. I want to make sure I get it just right. We can cut that in the interview.
Yeah, One More Wave and Be Your Better Human. How did those two come to fruition out of combat flip flops?
The Be a Better Human was just something we're always sitting down writing catch marketing and catchphrases. It's if you're a creative person, you're always, if somebody says a good idea or you see something driving down the road. And my nanny walked into the house one day and she was wearing a shirt that says "Be a Nicer Human."
Yeah.
It's good, but it could be a little better. And I was like, oh, be a better human. And we're firm believers of the Kaizen approach to life. Depending on what approach you're never too old to get your crap together.
Right.
You can overcome any challenge. You can fix mistakes as long as you're better today than you were yesterday.
Right.
Over time that pays off. And that's how we work as people. That's how we work as a brand. And we want to share that message with our community. Just be a better human.
Right.
The One More Wave is, we're in the veteran space. So we get to meet a lot of veteran nonprofits and charities, and these guys do really amazing work. And they invited me down for a third Saturday surf session in San Diego. And if you've been in the veteran community for a long period of time, you've been probably to one of these charity events where they give you a hat and a t-shirt, you do an event for the day, and then it's, don't harm yourself, go home.
Off you go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, off you go. And it always felt very transactional.
Yeah.
And this was the first one where I did to feel that. And you just imagine it. We're on the beach as the sun's coming up. All these guys are cruising into a parking lot with surfboards hanging out of the back of their rides. The trunks open up. Everybody's immediately talking smack. And, eating breakfast and burritos, and everybody walks down the beach together. They get the heroic shot, and then they all go surf and make fun of each other in the water for a couple hours.
Right.
It was a healthy, positive environment. And I was like, we need more of that in the veteran community. So we decided to start supporting them. We've made donations or contributed to donations that have put about 20 surfboards under surfers, veteran surfers, and 20 wetsuits. So we're clicking to make it happen. And we just want to have our community happy and healthy.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I surfed a lot when I was in Southern Cal at Camp Pendleton, and we had a boogie board club for the battalion and a few others. So that area right there. And then the housing area was on the northern side of Camp Pendleton at the Trussels, right where San Clemente meets the top of the base. And it was a huge surfing spot. The San Clemente high school team used to surf out there. We'd see them in the morning. It was impressive. So tell us about the organization itself. Do you have a large group of veterans working there at the moment, or is it a relatively small group of vets that you've got there?
I love Charlie Beckwith, the founder of Delta Force. He's got a very famous line, and excuse my French, but he says, "I'd rather go down a river with 7 studs than 100 shitheads." And we're a really small team. We've always been a small team. We've flexed in between 4 to 7 people at a time, but we leverage our special operations mindset, small groups, and we leverage technology to really create these jobs. And we don't need a huge team to do that. We're leveraging technology to make it happen for us. And by doing so, we're able to put more of our contribution towards our initiative of creating jobs in war zones.
So I guess you're 11 years in now, full time since 2012 when you launched. What what did your experiences in Iraq and Afghanistan, your experiences in the Army as a whole as an Army Ranger, what do you think prepared you well for what you've encountered over the last 11 years with the organization as it scaled?
I'd say it's three things. One is how to plan. The military, whether you think, whatever the movies show is not right. Operation might last 1 to 2 minutes if it's good, but they trained and planned for that for 1 to 200 hours.
Right,
And
right.
so the ability to really focus and set your mindset of like, hey, I have to plan out this next operation. I have to do it well so I can communicate it to my team and we can execute efficiently. That's one.
Right.
The second, which ties into the first, is no plan survives first contact.
Exactly.
So as an entrepreneur or business owner, you're going to be faced with lots of problems, and the problem solving mentality of being able to look at your team, take good ideas from all parties, and to figure out what's the best solution to move forward to accomplish your objective. And the third is just like, grittiness. You just got to be gritty. You got to make it happen. You got to be willing to, to do the hard work, take the risks when other people don't want to, and inspire them to make this change. And that's what we've done as a company. That's what I've learned from the military. That's what supported us in business, and that's what's made all of this change for our company.
Indeed, it makes perfect sense. I'm assuming you do, but how often are you approached by veterans right out of the chute that are a month, 2 months out, maybe not even out yet, but thinking of starting an organization? What do you say to them as far as, hey, you should probably stay in a little bit longer, or maybe you should read this book or go get your MBA? Do you have a pitch? And if you do, what is it?
I didn't get an MBA. I'm not a big fan of school. I started when I was serving alongside tier 1 units. You'd see all these guys reading business books, and I remember sitting in Afghanistan. What book are you reading? And it was Good to Great. Okay. Like, why are you reading that? Well, it's on a reading list. Well, give me that reading list. And so I started, and there were all these like business and leadership books. And eventually I found myself to the personalmba.com. And basically it's 100 books that you can read, or 99 books. If you have a library card, you can do it for free. You don't have to master everything in this, but as long as you understand the principles or know where to look to find the solution for a problem that you're having in your business, you'll have the equivalent of an Ivy League MBA if you just do this reading.
Right.
It's free. You can do it now. A Google Sheet or a Google Doc as you're writing down your ideas. It's a great place to start. Just keep a running log and just write whatever you feel like. Not all of it's going to work. Actually, 99% is not going to work. When you can whittle down those brain dumps over 3, 6, 8 months, the real picture will start to make sense.
Yeah, and I'm assuming part of your planning is planning to fail as well, because I'm guessing, I don't know, but the first iteration of the AK didn't look like this, probably didn't feel like this. Walk us through that a little bit and how you did things like proper sizing, material selection, durability. Did you do, like in the military, they have the Natick labs, and when they're going to put out something to be utilized, there's a human testing phase, right? It has to be utilized. I used to run a formal school at Camp Pendleton, and we were part of some of that stuff sometimes. So how was that for you in that process, and what did you learn from it?
Well, it's evolved over time. When we first started, we didn't know anything. So we just said, hey, we like this. We took a photo of something. We want something that looks like this or feels like that. We want it this color here. And we just had a picture with a bunch of slides and arrows pointing toward things with examples. And that's how you can build a piece of footwear. If you find the right contractor who's willing to interpret your designs, they're going to find the stuff, they're going to put it together and make it look like your rough rendering. Then once you get it there, then you're like, okay, change this, change that. This needs to move over here, change this color. And after a couple iterations, you'll have a final product, which is how we did it initially.
Did you have anybody on the team that had experience in footwear or flip-flops or anything of that nature? Or did you have a mentor that had worked in that industry?
My Ranger buddy, Donald Lee, he's our CMO. When he got out of the Army, he did online development for a footwear company in Los Angeles. So he had people within the network that he knew, and they were making off-brand shoes and selling like knockoff in China, but they were building and making shoes and selling them in the United States. So we knew that we had somebody there, and the leaders there were cool. We called them and said, hey, we need some help. We want to produce footwear. Will you help us?
Right.
And they said, yeah, let's do it. And so we paid them a consultancy rate. They helped us get our first samples off the ground through their factories, and then we took off from there.
where do you get your materials for the? And I know that there's more than flip-flops now. There's apparel. There's other forms of shoes and things like that I've seen on your website. How did that? At what point did you decide that you wanted to expand the inventory, and what was your decision-making process to this shirt, this shoe? How did you guys go through that?
Well, our mission is to create jobs in these war zones. So we have to pick supplies and materials that's going to employ the most amount of people in the supply chain.
Right.
What we learned early is that you can't manufacture flip-flops in Afghanistan. They don't have rubber trees, leather tanneries, all of those things. So they don't have it. So we shifted our footwear production to Bogota, and we source all of our raw materials, go to a finished good within about a 15-mile radius of our finishing factory where it gets shipped. So it's a low carbon footprint. We're able to source all of our materials locally, create local jobs. So that's what we did in Afghanistan. That's what we did in Colombia. And then in Afghanistan, we realized because they can't make footwear, they can make other things. So, but they can make textiles. They have cotton, they have wool, they have cashmere. So we started manufacturing those products there. We went to Laos. They were making jewelry out of landmines, the leftover from the Vietnam War. So we started buying like labeling a product from another company that was making something similar to what we wanted. And so we did that. And then for the United States, we sourced US manufacturers to make all of our bags and apparel. So that's just how we go about doing it.
Right. And the inventory list now is obviously it's much larger than what it used to be. What's on the horizon for those that have been watching Combat Flip-Flops development? What's coming next that we haven't seen yet? Holiday season's right around the corner. We want to give you a chance to get people to get their Christmas shopping done early.
Yeah, so we have all of the footwear that we have in for the holidays. And our problem as a business is we've never been able to keep inventory in. We make high quality products at a fair price.
Right.
So when they come in, they go out. If you buy presents, buy them now, because we're not getting any more shipments before Christmas. So that's the one thing I will tell everybody, right? If you're thinking about it, get them now, because they're not going to be available in a month, I promise you. And then the other thing that's following behind that is cashmere. So we went back to Afghanistan. We had a lot of forced downtime there after the withdrawal.
Right.
And we figured out how to start making cashmere products. So employing goat herders, the material dyers, the people who are refining it, spinning the thread, looming the stuff. So we're creating hundreds of jobs in Afghanistan for people who are really suffering with a premium world-class product. And you normally have to spend $500-600 to get something of this quality, and we have 150. And that majority of that opportunity goes back to those people who really need it. So that's the new product that's hitting the market. And I guarantee it is a no-coal guarantee if you buy one of these for your wife. They are amazing.
Excellent. I will make that point. Now I got to get this video edited even faster, Griff, because we're under the gun. It's early November. So we got to get that finished. So there you have it, America. Matt Griffin, CEO of Combat Flip-Flops. He is stopping the cycle of violence and human suffering globally, also creating jobs, empowering veterans, and improving people's lives, showing us all how to stay in the fight. Griff, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it, and we'll see you all next time on VETSOME.